Hello and welcome to our July 24th ICC Boot Camp. Gary Holmes here is your host and moderator. We're a couple of minutes away from getting started, but I just want to share with you that we've got a lot of exciting information to share in this webinar today. It may run a little over time, so if you have to leave early, just know that it'll be recorded and it'll be up on our site for your ability to review it when we're finished. So we're just about ready to get started, so be patient or become one. All right, some people are joining us now. Thank you for joining us. They've made some changes on the system, and so it's showing some new things that I'm not really aware of, but we'll move forward and get started in just a couple of more seconds at the top of the hour. It sure is hot here in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. I've got the fan going, but I've got the window closed and keep the dog noise out. And just about ready to get started. Be about 30 seconds more. Just a bit of a prayer request for Burl Wolk. He somehow had an accident, fell, broke his hip, and he's needing recovery. He's 85 years old. Major dynamo individual whose primary goal on this planet is to make this world a better place. So lift him up in prayer that he heals properly and gets back to his regular daily radio show that he runs at 2 o'clock every day. I'll be on the radio show tomorrow, and I was there yesterday. Do about 20 minutes of education, trying to get people understanding the importance of using an alternative economy to the fiat debt money system. And so we're going to get started now, and I want to thank you for being here with me today. I'm going to share screen, and we'll get started on some updates. So let's get going. And we see our neat little mirror image kind of thing going on there. And the first place we're going to go to is our Financial Hope private member website at legacyassurance.net under the 2014 news. Now, before I actually get into the actual news on this site, just a couple of international updates. Hearing from a couple of very reliable sources that the global reset and the dinar are going to occur sooner than later. Some say this week, some say before August 14th, but there is a new government of Iraq. They're just waiting to seat the prime minister. I guess they got 3 presidents for the 3 different areas, and everything is moving along. The Maliki or Maliki or whatever the guy's name was that was previously the prime minister who was causing all these problems seems to have been moved out of his position of muckraking and delays, and so everything seems to be going well in that arena. Also, I heard news, and I think I posted it, that the Treasury Reserve notes are now being in circulation, and I heard that from Greece, of all places. So I think there'll be some major changes internationally. Obviously, when everybody has to participate in Basel III compliance. Also, we're going to talk about FATCA, the fat cat, and what that's going to do to people living in the United States, which most of you are. There are some folks here from Australia that get up in the middle of the night to be with us, and I thank you for doing so. All right, so hopefully everybody is seeing the financial site. Let's just see if there's anybody saying no, they can't see it. All right, so let's move forward. Certainly, it's been a busy week. Wow, so many things are happening. I've had several calls with Mr. B, and I've got a couple of updates that I'll be providing for you from my notes, and we'll do them midway through our presentation today. But I do want to share with you the Sovereign Man that you see here at the heading, and I'll bring it up to a point where we can start to see what he's talking about. We're not going to read this one today. There's just far too much I've got to cover. But I just want to tell you what's going on. 10 dark-suited men entered the premises of FBME Bank in Cyprus on Friday and took it hostage. Isn't that amazing? Now, the title of all this is Obama takes over a foreign bank. I mean, talk about putting your dukes up and wanting to cause war. I mean, it's just amazing what the abomination is doing. Oh, it says first 20 minutes, continually repeating you're welcome. Is that still going on, or are you seeing the site? Can you either Skype chat me, Kenny, or just, I think you've got a delay more than anybody else, so hopefully everybody else is seeing this. Can somebody else just tell me that the screen is being shown properly? Kenny's got a delay. Anyway, so there was a generic report penned to some bureaucrat 10,000 miles away, still on continuous loop. Refresh your site, Kenny, because I have had no response from anybody else having that problem. So anyway, funny thing, when HSBC got caught red-handed laundering funds for a Mexican drug cartel last year, the U.S. government gave them a slap on the wrist, and HSBC got off with a fine. Yet when the U.S. government merely hints that FBME could be laundering money, the bank gets taken over at gunpoint. Okay? So everybody else is seeing the site, so Kenny, you've got the problem. All right, so let's keep moving on. Anyway, read this. It's amazing. BRICS nations are moving forward. Things are changing. Involvement with Russia, amazing things. So here's the next one, and I forgot to put this up here because, again, it's on the BRICS nations. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, or the BRICS countries have recently released the plan to compete with the International Monetary Fund via their own international banking system. So you can read that one, really great stuff, and that came from Agora Inc. This one just blew me away, and thanks to Anthony, we got this one. Audit of the Federal Reserve reveals that $16 trillion of secret bailouts have been made. I'm telling you, folks, it's time that we get this information out to people so that they have a choice. They can continue to support a system that does this to us, or they can join our private economy and not have to worry about this stuff. $16 trillion has been secretly given out to U.S. banks and corporations and foreign banks everywhere from France to Scotland from between 2007 and June 2010. Okay, now it then says, to place this in perspective, 16 trillion, remember the gross domestic product of the United States is only 14 trillion, I should say. The entire national debt spanning 200 years is only 14.5 trillion. The budget is being debated so heavily in Congress is now only 3.5 trillion. Take all the outrage and debate over the 1.5 trillion deficit into consideration and swallow this red pill. There was no debate about whether 16 trillion would be given to failing banks and failing corporations around the world. This is insane, folks. Absolute insanity, and it's got to stop. Well, you and I aren't going to be able to stop it, but we are going to be able to show people a better way, and that's commerce through capitalism. So look at these companies that got money. 2.5 trillion for Citigroup, 2 trillion for Morgan Stanley, 2 trillion for Merrill Lynch, 1.344 trillion for Bank of America, Barclays 868 billion, Bear Stearns 853, Goldman Sachs 814 billion, Royal Bank of Scotland 541, Chase 391, Deutsche Bank 354, UBS 287, Credit Suisse 262, Lehman Brothers 183, Bank of Scotland 181, and Bank Paribas in France 175 billion, and many, many more, including banks in Belgium and of all places. Now, what is going on here, folks? This is absolute insanity. We'll stop the insanity and do something about it. You have the power to change this right now. We have the only viable alternative to this treason and fraud perpetuated on the whole world. Tell everyone about Zcash, CHIPS, BVK, and documentary funds that are available through the ICC. Everything we do is legal, lawful, ethical, and moral. When will you do what you need to do and tell the world we have the solution? Okay. Now, I was talking with Ben, and we were obviously talking about real estate purchases, and he's coaching me, and so I have 9 people that have volunteered to work with me directly, and I'm very excited about that. And with those 9 people, we'll be buying real estate, and I've made some major inroads into finding some brokers. Now, there is a site called LoopNet, and LoopNet obviously sells real estate all over the world, and you can go in and find real estate agents, real estate brokers, commercial real estate brokers is what I searched. And so I looked at two states that Ben suggested that I get involved with, and that's California and Massachusetts. Why those two? Well, you'll see in a moment that California has openly made into law digital currencies as legal tender. In Massachusetts, there is a currency that's been promoted and used in northwestern Massachusetts called Berkshires for a number of years. So it's already set a precedence. So those 2 states already understand digital currencies and are using them. All right. So we're going to focus on those along with Texas, because we've already got things happening in Texas, which we'll read about in just a moment. And so that's important. So what he wanted me to learn personally is how to approach these and find willing sellers. And so we'll look at that in just a moment. But he also said when you're talking to them about educating people, you want to let them know that they really don't know what a dollar is. And so if we go to our next site, no, I haven't finished what I want to do here. I'm going to do that in a moment. I've put the conclusion up here of what a dollar is, and then we'll go to digital currency in a moment. But I just want to talk about these 2 other little things here. Check this out on Bitcoin, see Mr. B's answer. There is an article that I posted on his Skype regarding Bitcoin has passed the tipping point. And so he responded back and said the value of Bitcoin is that the value is speculative. And so people are using it kind of like, well, let's get in now, it's going to go up and I'll make a lot of money. He said the security of Zcash and chips is that their value is pegged to the US dollar value. Using Bitcoin is a way to escape from the established world economic system. Zcash and chips support the world economic system. Now, that's whether the system goes gold-backed or whether it stays fiat makes no difference. We are in a very powerful position with Zcash and chips, and it provides for capital generation within that system. In short, Bitcoin can be considered adversarial, while Zcash and chips are supportive. Okay? Then he also said we really need to be explaining this to our candidates that FATCA should be renamed FATCAT. I put that in there, he didn't. Read this weep, all you U.S. slaves. Basically what this says is that the U.S. government has put in law that any bank that deals with any bank in the United States, most of it in correspondent relationships goes through New York, that if they even think that there's money laundering, just like we saw in that bank in Cyprus that was just taken over, that they can take 30% off the SWIFT wire transfer without any questions. No convictions, no nothing. Absolutely insane that they can do this. But it's law. All right, so if you'll understand that we're in a position where we don't need to concern ourselves with using SWIFT. We have everything in place not to have to use that on international money. And so you really need to educate people. And this is an awesome little overview here from Anna von Reitz you want to take a look at. And so that's all I wanted to cover, because that leaves us up to July 17th from last week. So there's all our goodies there. So let's go and take a look at news reports. Okay, so this is on ChipStash Corner, news reports. Let me just show you where I found it. Okay, so you come up here and click here for important news reports. Digital currency. And it'll load in. Governor Brown signs bill legalizing Bitcoin use. Very, very important to us. Governor Jerry Brown has signed bills that recognize legal use of Bitcoins and, more importantly, other digital currencies in California. All right, in all, the governor signed 15 pieces of legislation. The key to us is the legislation AB 129, will allow bitcoins and other digital currency to be legally used in transactions in California by revealing a provision of state law that bars the use of anything but lawful money of the United States. Well, quite frankly, there isn't any lawful money of the United States, as you will understand if you read what is a dollar. So that's very important. Okay, so he says, Assemblyman Roger Dixon said the new law he wrote only recognizes what is already happening. See, can't stop it. So they're either going to legalize it or tax it, one or the other. So in an era of evolving payment methods from Amazon coins to Starbucks stars, it's impractical to ignore the growing use of cash alternatives, Dixon said in a recent statement. All right, so that's very, very important stuff. There it is. You can bring people to it and let them know that we didn't make this stuff up. All right, and also the important thing to understand is that the designates the California red-legged frog as the official state amphibian. That's really important to put that into law. So you can see that they're doing some really good stuff. All right, so there's Governor Jerry Brown's overview. And so from there, we can go to Gideon's Gate. And in Gideon's Gate, we go to the search phrase and we type in real. And we click on the search. And up comes 4 documents. There may be some more added soon. What is a dollar? A must-read article, Addendum 1 and Addendum 2. Now, I'm not going to take time to read all of what a dollar is, but we're going to touch on it a little bit. We've done webinars on a must-read article, which is Antel Fekete stuff, so you can go and review that. And we are going to spend time going through Addendum 1 and Addendum 2. We'll come back to that in just a moment. I do want to jump over to mention that the ucofc.info site, we've had a challenge in moving it from GoDaddy servers to Bonnie's servers, and so she's busy working on that. So if you've tried to get into the UCFC site, it will hopefully be up later today. And that is a very beautiful site to take brand new people to. It doesn't have a lot of extra information that the Legacy Assurance site has to confuse people. It gets them focused on a step-by-step process, and I'd love to show it to you, but as I say, you can't bring it up at this present moment. But we're working on getting that done. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a moment. I do want to go through our notes. First of all, we'll start with the summer promotion. Summer promotion, Plan B. You can go read summer promotion, and the Plan B is at the bottom of it. Plan B is an option to present to new candidates with great benefits and provides you with an alternative approach to your membership drive. Plan B provides all the benefits of our summer promotion, but for a purchase of tickets USD IEC for $1,000, they participate in a commercial transaction that gives them a place in Brightstar WorkCenter's Fetus Bank contract. They immediately receive 3,600 chips, legal tender in California and Massachusetts. They can use the chips within the ICC immediately, or they can request the 3,600 USD chips exchange for cash at the 1-year anniversary of their purchase. They also receive a novice MyFuel Club membership worth $150 at no cost extra added value bonus for participating in the summer promotion. And the MFC terms and conditions apply for this MFC added value no cost bonus. You as the sponsor will request the chips exchange for cash available for the ICC sponsoring of the new ICC member under Plan B. And to qualify for a Fetus interim financing, a party that is contracted with IEC for documentary funds to be discounted must sponsor an ICC membership through the tickets USD IEC is acquired. As a result, Fetus can provide interim financing equal to 37.5% of the value of tickets USD IEC required. Plus, the sponsor can receive 5.25% of the value of the tickets in exchange for chips registered because of the transaction. Thus, if you, the sponsor, is also a beneficiary of documentary funds being discounted, already in process, the transaction can provide a total amount equal to 42.75% of the value of the tickets USD IEC to the sponsor. So if you're both the sponsor of the documentary funds, submitting the WAPN and IBO submitted to IEC for discounting, you would request chips exchange to cash for $427.50. for the commercial transaction of the purchase of 1,000 USD tickets IEC. So, great way to make some serious cash and turn it into a full-time endeavor. Now that we have documentation validating that our Zcash and chips are real currency in 2 states, and therefore we can do contracts through those 2 states, we are in great shape. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 we're going to go to is the LMF computers. Now, Bruce had asked some questions of me, and I said, well, let's get some accurate answers, and this one will be posted. The main questions I'm getting asked: could you please give me detailed information on the LMF computer lease program? So I say all the information that is available on these 3 links. So you can go check them out. You've been through them with me on the webinars before, but they're there. Where can I view more in-depth details on the LMF computer lease program? Is there a site I can go to beyond what is on the Chipstash Corner site? The only other area you can go to is Incredible Concepts Global Horn. These concepts are outdated, but our goal is our own private intranet for ICC members in good standing only, not the public internet. So that's our goal. What are the details of income from the 10-year lease? And so if trades were already at peak, then funds would be available very quickly. Or are the trades done? Since the banks have not fulfilled their contractual obligations to us for the trades, we're doing it without them. And it will take whatever time it takes to get the funds in place. But we are moving forward, and we have now 5 properties, which we'll talk about in the next document, that are in play. So that's pretty darn exciting. What would be the expected time be from the purchase payment in full of the LMF computer to receiving the income from the lease? That depends on how many people are actually working to this solution. The more people who are bringing funds to the energy store and the Fetus Bank contracts, the faster we'll have the funds to purchase everything that is required. So you can go take a look at the link here. If it is our present work group, it will take a while. There's only 9 of us working. But if we all went to work buying real estate through the Addendum 1 and the real estate through Addendum 1 and Addendum 2 protocols, we could do it in much less time. How does that work? Well, that's the key word, work. Everything that anyone has to do to get their funds exchanged is available in the section Real, which we'll go to in just a moment. So the system hasn't changed pages yet. There, I think it just did. Well, hopefully it will. Okay, well, it will be changed on the recording as I do them, so you'll just have to come back and watch it again. Okay, what are the requirements for the LMF computers to be installed? You have to do nothing. It'll all be done for you. Do they need to be kept at a certain temperature and have its own interrupted power supply? That will be taken care of by the people who will install the computer. This is specialized equipment, and all instructions for care and installations will be handled when it's installed. Please understand that we do not want this information out there to be sabotaged by anyone who would not like our private intranet to be successful. So you can see that the power elite want us not to succeed, but there are more of us than there are of them, and they can't win if we all work together. All right, so let me just go ahead and see if I can make it do what it's supposed to do. And I'll go back to share screens and see if we can't get it to bring up the screens we were working with. If not, you'll just have to watch it again. All right, so back to where I was, computer questions. All right, so hopefully it's there for us now. Does the leadership own any LMF computers? There are several thousand in process with purchase orders and payment protocols for processing. Each MOU, if it was maxed out to 100 million, requires 323 living mortgage-free computers. So you can see just how many are needed to fill the MOUs in progress. If not, why don't they own what they're promoting? I can assure you that you do everything they promote, and proof of that is in the 5 properties that are already in progress in Addendum 1 and Addendum 2. Okay, so that'll be up there on the website for you to review and hard copy. All right, now I did have a wonderful call from Mr. B on July 21st, and I took notes, and so let's go through these notes, and again, hopefully this screen is being seen. Okay, if you want to arrange a buy-sell contract of any product or service, there are several ways that it can be done within the IC protocols at this time. Now, the two ways that we recommend and that we are doing are found in Gideon's Gate, chip-corner.com. And so let me just do that. Okay. And so we're on that page. We'll go back to it after we finish this. Enter real, and the 4 docs will appear. The first two are to have you understand what money is and what commerce is, and then the second two are your options, Addendum 1 and Addendum 2. All are very important to read and reread. My recommendation is that everyone read a must-read article and read What is a Dollar. The What is a Dollar doc doesn't answer what a dollar is. It shows the mass confusion. And so there's what a dollar is. A dollar is a measure of value. A Federal Reserve note is a means of exchange. And you need to be able to tell people the difference between those two. Means of exchange versus a measure of value. And in the document, you'll see that it's based on silver in the Constitution. All right? So anyway, keep on going here. It is defined in the U.S. Constitution. That's the only place that it is defined. And so when people say, I have to show money, they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't know. So the answer is, if you want to arrange a contract, there are only two ways that I'm going to arrange a contract. Otherwise, I'm not even interested in talking with anybody. Now remember, this is me talking to me. Either you're going to construct a contract like Addendum 2, or you're going to construct a contract like Addendum 1. If you're not going to do either of those two options, I'm not interested in talking with you, because you don't know what the real world is all about. I don't care who you are, whether you're a bank, whether you're a government, whether you're you and me, he's got it down. So, if I'm giving you, according to Addendum 1, lawful documentary funds consisting of a uniform advertising promissory note and an international bill of exchange that are guaranteed to be payable by FETUS, and they are commercial documents, so if you want me to sell you sugar in Brazil, oil in Africa, or anything else for that matter, I'll give you documentary funds to pay for the product required. That's standard procedure in commerce. Don't give me all those other protocols, as I'm not interested in doing business through the banking system. If you don't want to follow these two protocols, I can't help you. Okay? We have an update, proof of funds notice today, that was back on the 21st, that FETUS has $3 billion in USD cash on deposit at HSBC London Private Banking. So if you're not going to take either DF funds in Addendum 1 or Zcash in Addendum 2, we're not going to be doing business with you. So give me a contract using or based like we're doing with real estate, which is working just fine. Both these addendums are for real estate, and Addendum 1 has already been accepted by the directors of 2 different banks in Texas for 2 office properties, one worth $7 million, the other worth $10 million. So no one can say that they don't work and are not acceptable. So you can modify either addendum to suit your situation depending upon whether you want DFs or Zcash to be used. Addendum 1 says buyer and seller shall cooperate in any reasonable, legal, profitable, non-risk manner requested by the firm that contracts through the discount agreement to discount uniform advertising promissory note, and that's the number listed in there, and the international bill of exchange, that number for that one, so as to expedite and said discounting, and hereby agree and accept the timing of said discounting depends on their cooperation as well as on market conditions for the processing of the payment protocol of the International Bill of Exchange. So in Addendum 1, the 2 Texas banks have agreed to do just this. Now, they can go ahead and take the WAPN and IBO, they can put it into trade, but the reason he says here, shall cooperate in any reasonable, legal, profitable, non-risk manner, they may come to us and say, we have other things that we can do. So that's why it doesn't go specific to say it's got to go to trade. All right, but they're going to work to discount, and it could be done other ways. So I said, questions, how are you going to do that? That's what he asked me. Before any documents will be signed, you'll have to show in writing that you can do that. You can write the contract to say that the delivery of the product does not occur until the seller gets the currency he wants. That's fine. We're going to provide to a bank that you designate hard IBO DF3s. There's DF1s that you and I have. There's DF2s that are another bank instrument. And DF3s are actual currency collectible immediately. Well, based on the funds at HSBC, to the bank, not for the purpose of spending, but rather to purchase CDs, and those CDs will be put into the bank's wealth management or investment services with a margin line of credit under contract to trade to produce the profits for the product being purchased. This has never changed. That is your work to get done. So whether we do it through Addendum 1 or Addendum 2, which we'll read in a moment, we've got to put that in place. Now, if you can set that up, I'll do business with you. If you can't do that, then here's another way that you can do it. You can find people to put deposits into Fetus under a Fetus bank contract, and you can earn from funds from the program to pay for your product. Remember, you've got the ability to pick up 42%. You don't like to do that? Here's another way you can do it. You can go find real estate that conforms to the Addendum 1 or 2, and you can earn profits to pay for your product, and that way too the Energy Store protocols, through the Energy Store protocols. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. We've got the 2 properties in Texas, 17110. We've got the $3 million property in California. We've got a $3 million property, 12 acres in Oregon, and there's 700 acres in Idaho, and I don't know what that's worth. But if we take the first 2, that's 17 million plus 3, that's 23 million total, not to count the 700. So let's just say it's worth $1 million. That's 24 million. Let's just say that the hard money lenders will only give us 12 million. That's a hell of a pile of money to go into trade with, and that's what we're working on right now. Okay? So you can help us move that to a bigger amount by doing what I'm doing and doing what Eddie's doing. So come and join us. So you, whoever you are, if you're just trying to sell me something or you want to buy something and you're not really willing and able to go through and use one of these 3 to 4 options, guess what? I don't have time for you. You don't have to be, you have to be a part of your own solution. We're not interested in doing these other things because they don't work or won't work anymore. What we're doing does work, and we have 3 properties in Addendum 1, 2 properties in Addendum 2, so don't tell me it can't be done. I've done it, and if I can do it, you can do it. Now, there's another little problem he says it came up with that people don't understand. It's called FATCA. It's about to hit anyone doing business with U.S. companies and citizens square in the face. FATCA, in my view, is a very abusive, overreaching law, but nevertheless, it is in place. What the law says is that if you are Bank A and you are transferring money out on behalf of your client to Bank B, and that transfer happens to go through New York or any U.S. bank as a correspondent bank, if the U.S. government has reason to suspect that Bank A or Bank B or the client may be harboring monies from a U.S. entity that should be paying taxes on that money, the U.S. government can simply grab 30% of the funds as it goes through. Do you understand what that does? That makes it so that transferring funds via SWIFT from one bank to another is a very risky thing to do. So why would you do that? Want to do that when you don't have to? Follow our procedures, and you don't have to have any risk. We think it's worth the time to learn how to do the business our way to eliminate these challenges. Don't you agree? So if you continue to do business the way you've been doing, you're going to get stung really bad. These are points that everyone needs to understand. We're not going to do this because we don't want to be mean. I say we're not doing this because we want to be mean. We're simply not interested in doing business in a way that we'll get stung for things that we had nothing to do with, especially when we're providing all the funds for them to use in the first place with so very little work involved. So there's the 21st update. All right. So that kind of covers what we've got there. Summer promotion, LMF computers, and that's good. Okay, so we'll bring those down. And hopefully we'll take that off for a second. Hi again. And Let's move forward now to the next part. So we'll go ahead and try and bring up a fresh screen to make us work for getting these other goodies done. We're going to head over to Zcash USD. A lot of you have Zcash, and so you'll want to be able to convert it. So you can go to the commercial exchange kiosk, and used to be a lot of different things up here. Now it's down to 2 things. And you can go to the home and read what's on the home, but I just want to read this one. It's pretty short. And it's virtually the same for chips. Zcash may be cleared and exchanged for a USD bank deposit through a process of professional trading of senior financial instruments and using profits to buy senior instruments to then be transferred to designated institutional account coordinates and sold to provide USD deposits for liquidity in the receiving institution. For this process to function, liquid USD funds must be available in an account designated for electronic trading using non-depletion transactions that cannot diminish value, and not allowing any transfers of value out of the account other than as set forth in the contractual instructions provided to the holding institution. Now, this is a very important document. And you can share this with people you're going to be doing real estate transactions with. A member of the Internet Catalog Club that is authorized to use the commercial exchange kiosk to clear Zcash may use this location to transfer Zcash into a clearing account established at the time of transfer for the transaction. This clearing account will be created and identified by the invoice number of the Zcash transfer. Now, this is directed directly at you and me. The member is then responsible for arranging for a liquid fund to be available for trading. What does that mean? Energy store. What does that mean? Fetus Bank contracts. Okay, so you've got to be active in either of those protocols that we just discussed in Mr. B's 21st update. Now, this may be negotiated with Bank Fetus through Brightstar Workcenter. Alternatively, this may be accomplished by the member promoting the use of the energy store for others to undertake purchases and projects. The clearing will take place to benefit the member as described in the energy store. Transfer of Zcash for clearing is irreversible, and timing will depend on the amount of liquid funds available and on market conditions for trading. If trading related to promote use of the energy store produces more profits than required to clear Zcash transferred by the member, the excess would be accumulatively accounted for using the Zcash transfer invoice number as identifier to be used as the member may transfer additional Zcash to be cleared. So you can get yourself going, and you can start off with a small amount, but as your ability to see your profits increase, you'll be able to clear more Zcash. Okay, so to use the profits thus accumulated, the member must submit the identifier with a subsequent Zcash transfer request. Multiple previous identifiers may be submitted with a new request. Periodically, vacated identifier accounts may be eliminated from the records. And so that's the new update, and as I say, the amounts that you're going to work with are listed here. Okay? And you'll come to me for assistance in doing just that. Okay, let's go to the general notice. On July 21st, 2014, the recent shift by some jurisdictions towards general acceptance of digital currencies as legal tender is leading other jurisdictions to look for ways to impose rules and regulations that will inhibit business. Therefore, as of this publication, the Internet Catalog Club reminds all members that the club is a social network and that Zcash and chips are available for use only by consenting members engaging in business with each other. So if you want to do a Zcash or chips transaction, the person you're going to be working with has to be a valid ICC member. And you have to be a sponsor to do that, or you have to bring somebody to the table. And that's why you go back and look at the overview that's available for brand new people on the ucfc.info site. Many of you are already sponsors, many of you already have ICC memberships, but on that site you're going to see exactly how a brand new member can get 10 ICC memberships by following forward and doing the protocols that are outlined there. Also recognizing that it would be impossible for the club to comply with what could become a kaleidoscope of ever-changing rules in jurisdictions that choose to impose such, the club reminds everyone that the only entity that can acquire items offered within chips-corner.com, including Zcash and chips, is the firm ICIB, which is an international business corporation not under the jurisdiction of any country. Okay? Well, it's under one jurisdiction, but that's a jurisdiction that's very favorable to us. All other members engage in club-related acquisitions only by acquiring chips offered by ICIB, thereafter acting as agents for ICIB to acquire items through chips-corner.com, and therefore transferring chips to ICIB to acquire items owned by ICIB from ICIB. In short, no vendor offering products and services through chips-corner.com, including the club, accepts funds of any nature from any party other than ICIB. This measure was put in place many, many years ago precisely to protect international vendors from having to worry about laws and jurisdictions that members may be subject to. However, the novel acceptance of digital currencies as legal tender and an assured wave of regulations that are already being planned, for example, in New York City or New York, it could be problematic for ICIB. In New York, they're already coming up with a tax. They're going to tax, and you have to get a license to offer digital currencies. Now, New York is strange. When I was in the insurance business as the VP of Aflac Insurance Company of Canada, and when I went to Georgia, to the home office in Columbus, I was amazed that they could do business everywhere they wanted with Aflac products, with the exception of New York. In New York, they had to set up an Aflac of New York. So New York is very, very problematic in working with them. Now, to avoid this, and as of this publication, a member choosing to do business with chips-corner.com is hereby and herewith reminded that ICIB only does business as per the laws of its jurisdiction. However, some jurisdictions, such as Honduras, reportedly require all business executed by their citizens and corporations to be subject to Honduras laws. Adios, Honduras. So we're not interested in dealing with those kinds of countries. Therefore, to further protect international vendors in ICIB, as of this publication, ICIB requires all members to accept this general notice as a term and condition of doing business with ICIB. Thus, as per this general notice, any fees, penalties, fines, taxes, or licensing requirements levied or placed by a government of any jurisdiction on a member or attempted to be levied or placed on ICIB related to business a member does with ICIB are the sole responsibility of and must be conformed with and paid by the member engaging in said business. So you want to check out what you're doing and where you're doing it. However, all members are encouraged to follow the protocol of tax solution published in the red column of the entries of chips-corner.com. Additionally, if members find rules, regulations, licensing requirements, taxes, etc., as imposed by a government in a jurisdiction to be a problem, they're encouraged to seek legal advice so as to structure special purpose vehicles, as allowed by law, that may be advantageous for them to use when doing business with ICIB. In fact, in the event a problem related to jurisdiction occurs, ICIB may unilaterally close down business related to members in that jurisdiction other than as they may arrange through these special purpose vehicles accepted to ICIB. Now, you'll notice that for U.S. and Canadians, no, not Canadians, but U.S., IBOM said that you can no longer have your name on the account. You have to have a special purpose vehicle, a trust, in order to have an account with IBOM. That'll be the same situation here, folks, if you run into that situation. And obviously, if you're in Honduras, that would be the situation. Now, I know of nobody who is in Honduras in our work center, so I'm not going to worry about it, and I don't think you should either. And don't bother talking to anybody there. It's not worth doing. Okay. All right. So we've talked about Zcash. We've done the general notice, news reports. We've done the digital currency. There's a lot of other good stuff in here. The truth about money. Money's just naive. The banks are rolling in it. That's the Federal Reserve Note, money creation in the modern economy, money creation in the modern economy video. These are all things that you're going to need to educate the real estate brokers you're going to work with and the customers you're going to deal with. All right, so it's not going to be a quick sale, but we've got 5 that have already come on that journey with us, 2 banks. And so those of you that have banking contacts that have properties, distressed properties that they own, REOs, then you want to be talking to them about bringing those REOs to us, doing what the Texas banks have done. Okay, so let's get back over here. What do we want here? Oh, let's talk about Employee Gold before we get into the last meat and potato stuff. Employee Gold's going to be changing. It's going to no longer offer BVK. It's going to offer Zcash. This is phenomenal. What a great change, because immediately people, let's face it, everybody on this planet had the ability to buy anything and everything they needed with Zcash. Would we need the US dollar? Would we need the Australian dollar? Would we need the euro? No, we wouldn't need any of that. And so our goal, our work, and our opportunity is to get out there and give Zcash, which is legal tender in the state of California, away to everybody. And that's what this program does. Now, there'll be changes on the website probably by Monday. I'm just making you aware of it. So keep watching and seeing what the changes are. But remember, when you use Zcash, when you go and submit your Zcash for use, whether it's for a purchase from member to member or putting it through CEK, you get the same amount in chips. So everybody gets to double their money. When you do a real estate transaction with Zcash and they take Zcash, when they go to get their Zcash converted, so if the property was $1 million and we give them $500,000 in Zcash, they get their $1 million in USD funds, and then they get $1 million in chips, and then go get another $1 million. Yes, it takes work, but that's $2 million on the property that they were only asking $1 million for. Do we have an opportunity or what to take the real estate industry by storm? Phenomenal opportunity. And we're out there doing it. If you want to join us, let me know. Okay, so we've done that now. And have I covered everything else? Gideon's Gate Real, that's where we're going next. Okay, so let's go over here. So what is a dollar? I'm going to highlight some of the things that Ben showed me when he took me through this. Today, all thinking, informed Americans know their country is in trouble. Many haven't a clue as to what went wrong with their government, while others can recite a litany of reasons for their country's distress. I know I sure can. Of course, no one reason is paramount, but surely a debased, corrupt, inflationary monetary system must be placed near the top of the list of the causes of not only America's woes, but the world's woes. Whoa, 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 whoa. What to do about it? This monograph presents in irrefutable fashion the legal and economic history of the dollar and of the dollar's role in American monetary system as originally devised by the Founding Fathers. It also analyzes the Coinage Act of 1792, signed into law by President Washington, which put into effect the monetary system the founders had previously outlined in the Constitution. This system helped make the United States dollar the safest and most sought-after currency in the world, leading to the well-known saying, sound as a dollar. However, enter in the nasty Federal Reserve, 1913 Congress, in an unconstitutional act, relinquished its constitutional power and duty to coin money and regulate the value thereof to a private banking cartel called the Federal Reserve System. See how much importance we have to place in these documents to get them out to the people we're going to do transactions with? Because if we continue to support the Federal Reserve System anywhere on the planet, we're going to get more of the same. If you support our system, it eliminates the Federal Reserve. The ensuing years witnessed a gradual abandonment of the founding father system based on silver and gold, and the insidious substitution of a paper currency system that based on irredeemable fiat Federal Reserve notes, which continue to circulate today only because of the public's misplaced confidence. So what to do about it is the question. Obviously, the Federal Reserve System's experiment with fiat currency has failed. Why do you see the BRIC nations going to create their own? They are fed up with taking debased currency. But we cannot have a sound economy without sound money. Well, we have sound money. You just don't believe it. It's certainly much more sound than the Federal Reserve note. That means we must return a monetary system based on silver and gold coins, as the Founding Fathers wisely specified. This will require action by Congress to rectify the mistake of 1913 by abolishing the Federal Reserve System and reaffirming the dollar as a coin containing 371.25 grains troy silver fine silver. Okay? Now, we know that Congress will take no such action on its own initiative. Congress will move only when the general public becomes aware of and incensed by the monetary mess Congress and the Federal Reserve System has created. Therefore, everyone concerned with the money issue must bring the facts to the attention of as many Americans as possible. Now, he's not even in the Internet Catalog Club, and he's trying to educate the world just like we are. All right? So join forces with us and get this job done. Now, that's where I'm going to stop here. Oh, actually, I'm going to go to here. What is a dollar? It may seem trivial. Everyone knows what a dollar is, or at least almost everyone thinks they do. In fact, however, very few people could correctly define a dollar, and even fewer know why a correct definition is vital to their continued economic and political well-being. Why is a correct definition of the term dollar important? The United States is a highly advanced free market economy. In a free market economy, the prices of almost all goods and services are stated in units of money. Under present law, and as will be described below, from the very beginnings of this country, United States money is expressed in dollars. Moreover, all United States coins and currency, including Federal Reserve notes, are legal tender for all debts, public charges, taxes, and dues. Thus, all coins and currency, including Federal Reserve notes, that are expressed in dollars are both money and legal tender. For this reason, accurately defined the noun dollar is mandatory in order to know, supposedly, the official money of the United States and what constitutes legal tender for all debts, public charges, taxes, and dues. Do the present monetary statutes intelligibly define the dollar? Absolutely not. Federal Reserve notes, most people associate the noun dollar with Federal Reserve notes, dollar bill engraved with the portrait of President George Washington. This association is a mistake. No statute defines or ever has defined the $1 FRN as a dollar, or even specifies the dollar. Moreover, the United States Code provides that FRNs shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States or at any Federal Reserve Bank. Thus, FRNs are not themselves lawful money. Otherwise, they would have been redeemable in lawful money. And if FRNs are not lawful money, it's conceivable that there are somehow dollars. It is inconceivable that they are somehow dollars, the very units in which all United States money is expressed. So, what does this mean? Well, Federal Reserve notes are a means of exchange. A dollar backed by silver is value, okay? Monetary value. All right, so we're going to read all this in your spare time, but I want you to go down with me to the very bottom of all this print. I mean, this is historical evidence. There's all the codes listed. I mean, this is the deal, folks. We need to be sharing this with people. Oh, it's too boring to read. Well, then you wonder why you're broke. Whoops, I went too far. Sorry. Okay, quarter equals. Here we go. Conclusion. And I put the conclusion up on the news section of the Legacy site. In light of this history, the present monetary provisions of the United States Code demonstrate that the official Washington, D.C. has no conception of what a dollar really is. The reason for this self-imposed ignorance is obvious. By reducing the dollar to a political abstraction, the national government has empowered itself to engage in limitless debasement. That's the depreciation and purchasing power of the currency. Now, I've been told that the value of, quote, the dollar in 1904 was the silver value, 371.25 grains of fine silver. And today, that Federal Reserve note represents 4 cents. That's inflation, okay? And inflation is a silent tax, and it's a tax that taxes everybody. The difference is the rich, they create the money. It doesn't bother them at all. But for you and I, it just wipes us out. So stop using this system. Teach people to stop using this system. Get them involved in employee gold. Get them Zcash. Get them involved in understanding that we can trade with Zcash. And if everybody can trade and buy gasoline and food and clothing with Zcash, we don't need the Federal Reserve note. We don't need any government. We don't need any banks. That's where it's headed, folks. Do you understand that? Look what Jerry Brown did. If you're not getting it, read it again. Watch it again. Wow. Okay. So, a dollar that contains and must perforce of the Constitution contain 371.25 grains of fine silver cannot be reduced in value below the market exchange value of silver for other commodities. A pseudo-dollar, the FRN, that contains no fixed amount of any particular substance per FRN can be reduced in value infinitely. As debasement of currency amounts to a hidden tax, Congress' silent refusal to recognize the constitutional dollar amounts to the usurpation of unlimited power to tax through manipulation of the monetary system. Is that what the power elitists have done to you and me? They've wiped us out, and yet we keep supporting them. We don't tell our friends we've got the best system on the planet. Thus, modern money has become a means for total confiscation of private property by the government. Look at how many people had their 401ks wiped out, all their savings wiped out, lost their houses through the bubbles that have been created to specifically do just that. And you want to keep using the FRN and not use chips and Zcash and teach people how to do the same? More ominously, this scheme of surreptitious confiscation remains hidden from the vast majority of Americans. And they're not even Americans, they're U.S. citizens who seem blissfully unconcerned about the issue most important to the soundness of the country's monetary system, namely the character of the monetary unit. One need not be overly pessimistic to predict that misuse by politicians of the fictional, constantly depreciating pseudo-dollar, the FRN, to expropriate unsuspecting citizens will continue until an economic crisis finally shocks an increasingly impoverished American people out of its slumber and forces the people to ask the question, what's a dollar? At that time, the answer will not be no different from what it is today and has been since 1704. But the opportunity to use that knowledge to prevent a catastrophe may be long gone. Well, hopefully not. Therefore, those few who do know what a dollar is, and now that you know, and why that definition is important, need to inform as many of their fellow citizens as possible. If time has not already run out for the re-education of the American people in this area, I should say, it's racing towards this historic exit. Under these circumstances, silence by my friends of sound money and honest government is not golden. It's fatal. Okay? So, folks, we've got the tools. What is a dollar? Now, must-read article, we've got webinars on this. I've gone through all of Ficketti's stuff in detail. So you don't even have to say it. You just have to listen to it and give it out to people. Hey, study this, self-liquidating credit. Wouldn't that make more sense than going ahead and taking your money and paying off your house with hard-earned money and paying 3 to 4 times the value of your property in interest payments over a 30-year period? Wouldn't you want to know how to use self-liquidating credit and pay it off in 1 year or 2 years by doing a little work? Gee whiz, we got so much going for us. Okay, so addendum 1. Here we go. As I say, we're going to run a little overtime. And this is not that long, but it'll take you a few reads to get it internalized. And this can be modified to be an addendum for any kind of contract, purchasing flour, wheat, tractors, you name it, it can be modified to do it. Buyer submits herewith as full payment for settlement of Uniform Advertising Promissory Note number and International Bill of Exchange number, copies of which are attached hereto and made part hereof by this referenced thereto by the parties hereto. Seller hereby accepts as full payment for settlement of Uniform Advertising Promissory Note and the Bill of Exchange, the same numbers as above. Seller shall contract as per the attached discount agreement, which is made a part hereof by this reference thereto by the parties hereto to discount Uniform Advertising Promissory Note and IBO. That's their job. Just as you take a check to your car dealer and buy the car, they take your check. It's their job to take that check to the bank and have the bank take it to the bank where it was issued and get you the money. So this is not anything you're not already doing. It's just in a bigger form. Within 10 business days from the effective date of this agreement, the seller shall provide the buyer possession of the property, possession of the tractor, possession of the wheat, possession of the whatever it is stipulated in this agreement, and that certainly can be changed from 10 business days to whatever is agreed to. It's negotiations. It will change any existing contracts with tenants so that the buyer will be the landlord and as such be entitled to all payments by the tenants. So this is how Ben has put together the contract with the banks, the two banks in Texas, so that he will have custody of the two properties, and he'll be receiving the rent from the two properties, and he will be able to loan against the two properties. Closing shall take place within 30 days of the seller receiving full funds as per the discount agreement. Buyer and seller shall cooperate in any reasonable, legal, profitable, non-risk manner requested by the firm that contracts through the discount agreement to discount Uniform Advertising Promissory Note and International Bill of Exchange numbers so as to expedite said discounting, and hereby agree and accept that the timing of said discounting depends on their cooperation as well as to market conditions for the processing of the payment protocol of the International Bill of Exchange. And again, you can go read what that is. You can watch the webinars. I've gone through it before. All the information is out there in spades. Okay, so that's the first way you can do a transaction. And so if you're going to go to a bank that has a property, an REO they call them, real estate owned, then you can get together with me. I'll work with Eddie. We'll get the contracts together to buy that property from the bank, just like we bought those two office facilities in Texas. All right, now I'm going to be working on FSBOs, for sale by owners, and I went to LoopNet. I went and looked at the commercial real estate brokers in Massachusetts, and there was, I think, 285 or 6 pages. There are 20 names on each page. And so on Monday, I went ahead and I went through, and when you go to the LoopNet, each member is listed. There's a place to go and see the about them, and sometimes they have a map where their office is. Sometimes they list some properties. Sometimes they have their phone number, and sometimes they don't. The majority of them didn't have their phone number. So what I did is I created a 1-paragraph overview to place in that, and it basically said, I'm hoping you're an out-of-the-box thinker. I'm looking for commercial real estate brokers to bring me properties that I can buy using the system that we have set up. Contact me if you'd be interested. Okay? So out of 160 that I contacted, I'd say 120 got those messages. And whether they don't look at them or what, I don't know. I don't care. The 20 people that I actually phoned and talked with, now I phoned more than that, left messages. Not everybody got back to me. But out of the 20 that I actually did talk to, 13 consented to receive my email. And so my 9 people that I work with have those tools to work with. If you want those tools, you need to contact me and tell me what you're going to do and how you're going to work with me, and I'll supply you with those tools. And amazingly enough, this morning I wake up and I've already got my first broker sending me a property, wanting to know how we go about doing the purchase of this property. So there's a ratio. Figure it out. Now the amazing thing is when I looked at California, and I looked at the number of commercial real estate brokers listed in LoopNet, there were over 3,000 pages. 3,330 something pages let's just take 3,000, okay? And at 3,000, and being that there were 20 on a page, that means there are 60,000 commercial real estate brokers listed on LoopNet in California. So, Steve, so Don, do we have a little bit of work to do there? Now, I was telling Ben, hey, this is what I've done. I was really excited and proud about what I had done, and I got my first one. And he said, well, that's pretty good. But he says, why aren't you just talking to the owners of the property direct? And I said, well, I thought we needed to have a realtor involved. He said, no, not really. He said, so why don't you go look at the for sale by owners? So now I'm looking at for sale by owners, and the numbers of properties are huge, folks. And so we've got a lot of work to do. And I'm going out and buying property. And Eddie's teaching me how, because he's doing it. Now, Eddie's also got a bank that he feels will be on board very shortly. And they have offices in both Texas and in Mexico. And they are ready, willing, and able to loan us money. So amazing things are happening. And I'm super excited. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's, I guess, a little frustrating. But my motto is real simple. I'm going to get the job done or die trying. I will never give up, and I will get the job done. Okay? So, it's exciting. Let's go to Addendum 2. And then I'll open it up for some questions. So if you got any questions, go ahead, put them into the little chat section, and I'll answer them. Now, this is a little longer addendum, and this is using Zcash. And this is the MOU, and again, it'll put the identification at the top. Buyer and seller hereby agree and accept that Zcash is herein presented and accepted as legal tender, and with said representation and acceptance governed by California state legislation, irrespective of jurisdiction of real estate contract identified. Okay? So everything we're going to do is going to be done under California legislation. And you can do that. Isn't that neat? So when I'm buying property in any other state, I'm going to be doing it under acceptance of California legislation. Buyer hereby provides seller Zcash valued at $2 USD. Okay? Deposited in the Internet Catalog Club account of, and so you're going to set up an account, so you've got to be a sponsor. You've got to be able to have somebody sponsor the seller, and they're going to have an account set up, and there'll be a document up there. I was looking for it. I guess they haven't perfected it yet. Maybe they're not going to put it up after all, but let me just tell you what happened. There is a member, not of our work center to my knowledge, that through the work center, I guess, got in touch with Mr. B, and they asked the question, how do I solve this situation? I have a lease agreement in Texas that I have never fulfilled. I am $106,000 in debt, and I just got a demand letter from the attorney in Texas saying that if within 30 days I haven't paid them, they're going to come after me in California, where this guy lives, and sue the ass off him. Okay? Now, this is amazing. What Ben says, great. That's fantastic that he wants to sue you in California. Here's what you do. You, as a sponsor, will sponsor the person you owe the money to and do exactly what we just read. We're going to create an Internet Catalog Club membership for that particular individual. We're going to put into that account 53,000 Zcash. We're going to get the account PIN code. We're going to address a letter to the person that he owes the money to and to the attorney and say, here's your payment in full. Here's how to get the Zcash converted to USD if you so decide, or you can keep it in Zcash and use it because it's legal tender in California. And that's it. He's paid. Now I said, well, what if the guy wants to sue him? Wants to continue to sue him? He said, let him. He said, do you realize what position we're in? He's going to sue him in California, and Zcash is already legal tender because it's a digital currency, and Jerry Brown just made it so. he said not only that, the first Bitcoin issue that came up was in Texas. And they were trying to get these guys on money laundering. And so they declared that Bitcoin was legal tender. That's how they got them on money laundering. Isn't that amazing? The U.S. government, federal government, just shot themselves in the foot. They now made Bitcoin, digital currency, legal tender. Well, California just said, oh, if they're doing it in the federal jurisdiction, we'll do it in the state jurisdiction. And so either way, now we don't know how the judge would rule, of course, because obviously it's all about debits and credits, but maybe we can just fund the judge and make sure that they vote our way, put him into a situation where he gets employee gold. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? The chances of them winning are slim to none. Why? Because they don't understand what a dollar is. They never specified Federal Reserve notes, they specified US dollars, and US dollars haven't existed since 1709, or at least 1913. Okay? You see how powerful the law is? And if you have to go to court, very good chance you're going to win. Why? Because the 6 years that Ben and Richie fought in court, pro se, that's by themselves, no attorneys. They never granted jurisdiction to the legal system, which is fraudulent. And they went in and fought their own battles, and they won. Well, they didn't win, but it was a draw. And what came out of it is that CHIPS and Zcash were not unsecured securities. But what was validated is the fact that they had been used and were real as internal currencies within the Internet Catalog Club. Then one of our members, who has the website, the Internet Catalog Club Mall, I can't think of his name, it's escaped me, the good old boy. He is such an honorable man. He went to the IRS and said, look, I got these chips, and what do I do with them? And the IRS came back and said that they are declared as income. All right? So we've got all these precedents that have been set. And you're sitting back sucking your thumb saying, I wonder if anybody will accept this? We've got all these government entities that have already agreed with us that it's real money. So let's start using it. And that's why Zcash and chips will be used first and foremost over anything. Why? Because we're in total control of it. You see, we don't own Fetus Bank, and we don't own IBOM, but everything else is controlled by Ben and Richie that we use. And that's why we went and said to Ben and Richie way back in 2009, we want to work with you guys, and we'll do whatever you tell us to do. When you say jump, we'll say how high. And that's exactly what Gary and Eddie have done since 2009. And has it been successful? Yes, very successful. We bought Fetus Bank. We bought all these wonderful oil mines and gold with BVK. You just didn't do it yourself. It wasn't easy to do. I'm not saying it was. But Javier Reina has done a phenomenal job with BVK. He now has $3 billion US sitting in the Fetus account in HSBC London. Yeah, they've been jacking us around. And no, they haven't fulfilled their contract, but that's just who these bankers are. Haven't you just seen the article I put up there with $16 trillion of good old boy money being given out to these evil people? If it is to be, it is up to me. It's up to us, folks. We've got to take charge. We've got to get out there. We've got to get people involved because this is the only viable alternative. So, continuing on. Seller hereby accepts the above referenced Zcash and account along with $10 USD bank check as full payment required for settlement for real estate contract and the identification number. Upon signature of real estate purchase contract by buyer and by seller, the seller shall sign a deed of trust, which accompanies this MOU, and the deed of trust is usable in Australia as well. We've already checked it out. So we're going after major properties in Australia. Buyer hereinafter, referred to as now new owner, getting a drink here, folks, shall use deed of trust as collateral to obtain a loan in USD bank deposit funds. Now, in talking with Ben about the bank that Eddie has brought to him, he said that these guys probably will end up loaning money anywhere in the world. Why would they do that when it's not in Texas or Mexico? Well, because we're paying them in full in documentary funds, and that funding never leaves the bank. These guys are getting it. They understand it. Good thing they're just a small regional bank, right? Just covering Texas and part of Mexico. Powerful stuff. You never give up. Buyer hereinafter, new owner shall use the deed of trust to get a loan. Hard money loan, yeah, that's kind of like going to a loan shark, but who cares? We need to get the money. And if we get it from a loan shark, or we get it from a hard money lender, an investor type person, we don't need banks, do we? That's how we got these 5 properties. Well, 3 of the 5 properties. Proceeds from the loan obtained by new owner, along with all documentation related to the real estate contract, shall be placed with an escrow company, hereinafter called escrow. See, everything is legal, lawful, ethical, moral, all done to the benefit of all. Everybody wins, nobody loses, all in writing. Escrow shall use proceeds from the loan to new owner to pay off all liens and encumbrances and fees as required by the lender that provides the new loan to new owner and is approved by the new owner and by the seller. Now, amazingly enough, I was talking to Eddie about this property that I was just received. It's a little 4-story, 6-unit apartment building in somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't even know where the town is. Got to go look on the map. And it was $415,000. And I said, well, what do you think, Eddie? Should we buy it? And he said, well, you got to ask some questions first, Gary. And I said, well, like what? And he said, well, is it completely paid off, or is there a mortgage? And I said, well, it doesn't look like there's any mortgage. Look at the P&L. And so we looked there, and it didn't seem to be. He says, well, are there any liens and encumbrances? I said, I don't know. He said, well, these are all the things you got to ask, Gary. So you see, these are the things that I would teach you to do if you decided to come and work with us. Okay? So it's not something you have to go out and learn like I am by doing it. You're going to learn by doing it yourself, but at least I'll have been there and done it before you. So, where are we? Escrow shall use the proceeds from the loan to new owner to disperse bank deposit funds to the seller as an advance distribution of payment. So, in the situation with the $3 million property in the California, it's going to end up that $400,000 is going to be put into play. All the liens and encumbrances, which I'm told there was lots of them. That's why the guy was going broke. Will all be paid off. Then the $400,000 will go in. Now on the other properties, obviously that's a different story. So there'll be lots more money available. But again, each one of these things is different. So you can't just have a cookie cutter approach. But this is pretty much a cookie cutter MOU. Now everything else will be added to this, as you see in the reading. Then escrow shall deduct and retain a certain amount of bank deposit funds for the new owner as partial payment to escrow for escrow and title fees. Escrow shall use the proceeds from the new owner, loan to the new owner, to disperse USD bank funds as partial payment for real estate agency fees as agreed to by real estate agencies, new owner, and by seller. So they may not get all their fees up front, depending upon how much the loan was. Escrow shall use proceeds from loan to new owner to disperse USD bank deposit funds to new owner to be used by new owner at new owner's sole discretion. So we're going to use some of the funds to do what we need to do. On behalf of the new owner, the escrow shall execute the Energy Store Protocol, a copy of which is attached hereto, and which the parties hereto hereby make part hereof by this reference thereto, to cause the remaining proceeds from the loan obtained by new owner to be deposited into account and some listed there with the institution listed there to be controlled and used as per the account agreement that's attached herewith and made here part hereof by this reference thereto by the parties hereto as funding provided by the new owner to be used as per the Energy Store protocols to create profits, first to pay off the loan obtained by the new owner, then place in escrow funds to be dispersed to the seller incrementally in exchange for Zcash provided to and accepted by the seller. See, we're going to pay for the whole amount right up front. So if it's $1 million property, they're going to get 500,000 Zcash right away. And then what the seller's going to do is, as we get funding available, they'll exchange their Zcash for U.S. bank deposit funds. Okay, and as payment for settlement. And thereafter to acquire on the behalf of the new owner, privately selected through the energy at chips-corner.com. All the Zcash for USD exchange is being incrementally satisfied. The remaining escrow and realty fees shall also be incrementally satisfied. So everybody's going to share in this as a massive project. Now just think, we get 5 or 6 of these done, and we can prove that it's been very profitable. We get a time track record. Hallelujah. So if you want to wait until that's done, well, okay. But we need your help now. We need to get a lot of people putting seed in the ground. You will never get a crop unless you plant seed. That's God's law. So by exchanging Zcash for USD bank deposit funds, the seller will qualify for chips of equal value to be registered on behalf of the seller. So he's going to eventually trade off $500,000 worth of Zcash, and he's going to get $1 million worth of chips. So he got $1 million for his property, and he got $1 million worth of chips. He doubled his money. You don't think there's people out there that don't want to hear this story? Come on, get out there and ask. Seller may process chips through the commercial exchange kiosk. We just went there, we showed you, to obtain USD bank deposit funds as per the protocols of chips-USD, a copy of which is attached, so they're even going to have that as part of the contract on how they go about getting their USD transferred from chips, which is made a part hereof to the parties hereto, thereby reference thereto. Or the seller may use the chips to pay new owner for items such as partial or full, as may be negotiated, return of ownership of the property. New owner shall provide to the seller as per negotiated agreement between new owner and seller, separate apart herefrom. Okay, so they could ultimately get the $1 million and have the chips. They could get the $1 million, and if they want the property back, they can have the property back by giving us the chips. So what does that say about your own personal property? You've got a property that's paid for or almost paid for? This is a cash cow, folks. You could do it over and over and over and over and over and over as many times as you want. Okay? So you need to study this stuff and go over it and over and over it. All right, so I think we've covered everything. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this, we've done the news reports, we've done the general notice, we've done the Zcash to USD. Okay, so I think we've covered everything that I needed to cover. Let me just check my list here. I don't want to miss anything. I know we're almost a half an hour over time. Then the global reset, news view. I would urge you to go and read the summer promotion again so you know how to get people on board. Understand employee goal will change. That'll be just such a added value benefit. Yep, we've covered it all. All right, and we're docs. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the questions that people have typed in here and see if I can provide any assistance. Well, that didn't work. Okay, let's see if I can get to these questions. And I'm sorry if some of you didn't see the screen, but it will be there on the recorded version. Okay, so Tara says, so as a new customer only needs $1,000 in tickets to come on board for the summer promotion. Well, they can actually do it for less, but it be to your advantage, Tara, because you're going to get more out of that 1,000 in chips exchange for cash. But you read the summer promotion, and it'll tell you the 2 ways you can do that. Plan A, Plan B. How do I exchange my BVK into Zcash? Well, there'll be protocols coming very soon on that. And again, there's very few admin people, so don't be bugging us about this stuff. Just know that we're working at getting all these things done. First priority is to be able to get the members on board, and then when you want to convert yourself BVK to Zcash, we'll probably see those protocols online and up there, and we'll also probably see that document that I was talking about with the attorney wanting to sue this guy, and the fact that go ahead, you know, it's legal tender, and if they don't want to take it, well, by refusal. In law, it doesn't matter. It's paid. So we are in a very powerful position right right now. And I would urge you to really take this serious and get yourself involved so that you can start to get your Zcash, your chips, your BVK, and your documentary funds processed. And it all comes down to doing the work, doing addendum 1 or addendum 2, and real estate's the easiest way to do it, quite frankly. That's what I'm doing. That's what Eddie's doing. We're all focusing on real estate. So I want to thank you for being here with me today. I'll get this webinar up onto the site as quickly as possible, and hopefully Bonnie will have the ucfc.info site up today, if not tomorrow. God bless you all. Thanks for being here, and take action.